Hoi hoi! He's Straw, and he's Parker, and together we are the Battle Hammer. As you can tell by it just being my voice, there is no Straw, there is only Zool. I'm at home, I'm at my house, I am doing a little unboxing. Regulators, round up, or mount up even, mount up the escalators. This is the new release from Wild West Exodus. We are fortunate to be seeing it. It's Billy the Kid and his hombres, dudes, cowpokes, I don't know. Anyway, the Regulators' new posse set from Warcradle Studios for the game that is Wild West Exodus that we love. So, as you can see, there's a dude on the front. That's actually Billy the Kid. William T. Kiddington, I believe is his proper name. Something like that. Just show you the back of the box. I've taken off the shrink wrap already. We have, in no particular order, Sasha Tanner, who is like a hand-to-hand combat dude with arm blades. We have William T. Kiddington himself. This guy over here is Jake Williamson. He's like a big, heavy dude with a shotgun, looking all moody. Jose Chavez Chavez, who's a Mexican fellow who's quite good at running at people, hence the pose. We have the Apache Kid. A few of these have been released as singles before. People will know and love the Apache Kid. And anyone who's really in the know knows that the Apache Kid is actually the Scorpion on the base, and that's just his friend who follows him around. We have got Laura Anderson, and we've got John Boxer Middleton, who's like a fisticuffs dude. And these are the Regulators. As you can see in the top corner, you can use them with these posses, mostly outlaws. Fortunately, I play Hex and Enlightened, so that's all good. And I might end up playing Lawman at some point, we don't really know. So let's do a little unboxing. We've got the sleeve on the outside with a bit of lovely art of William T. Kiddington. We'll take off the thingy and throw it away, and then we'll find in the box nothing, because I've already unboxed it, because there's a bit of a faff, because they package it really well. They put lots of like bubble wrap and stuff like that around it, so I decided to pre-unbox it and then show you stuff. So I've got all the bases and all the bits that were in that box in this little tub here, and I'm just going to start showing you things and zooming in. How I'm going to do this, I'm going to zoom in for a bit and show you some stuff that I can see, just because this is the first time I've really had a proper look at the models. And then after that, I am going to assemble the models and show you what they look like assembled, and see if there's anything else I can pick out. So, I need a pokey to point at you with. So I'm going to use this little modelling tool just as an eyeball guide. Get some light on the subject, and away we go. So this is the body of William the Kid. He has got, as you can see here, 2 pistols for shooting people with. A very typical Wild West Exodus bit of symbology here, which is the vertical lines on his shin pads that kind of looks like a grill on the front of a train or something like that. Very kind of classic Wild West Exodus. I think it's so good that they've managed to get Roberto on board to be able to do a lot of the art design and being like a chief art dude. It's kind of, if you saw this next to an older model, you'd still think it was part of the same selection, as it were. Kind of like his little jaunty hip pose. I'll show you that once the model has been assembled. This is one of the legs of Jose Chavez Chavez. Love to see a little bit of what's this sort of stuff, ruffle on the side of his trews, which is pretty cool. Again, this knee pad's very kind of similar to people who've been released already, and it's nice to kind of show those like follow-on themes, as it were. Almost looks like Union knee pad or an Outlaw knee pad. Very, very similar. My only issue that I'm slightly concerned about is that little toe. That's the contact point for this model on the base. I can pin it, but I'm a bit nervous. I may well end up drilling through the toe, putting a pin and then filling the top with some putty, and that way it'll be solid AF. So that's that. That's some bits. We've got your bases. This is a medium-sized base. This is Jake Williamson's base. All the others are on small bases. No big whoop there. Here we have got Laura Anderson with a little hippie kind of like pose. She's doing a little pouty face because she's blowing out one of her guns. I'm not going to point at her breasticles or her buttockles because that would be rude. But she's got a cowboy hat on and long hair, and she's very good in game because she has plasma 6 shooters, which are AP-3, which is super fun. This is the big guy, Jake Williamson. He is the fella that goes on the medium base here because he's a big fella. Brr. He's also a Confederate as well as a Regulator, so you can use him in your Confederate armies if you have one. I have a Confederate army, not that you'd know, because I very rarely play it. In fact, I think I played it once. Just because they're going to get painted one day, I promise. After my Greys and my Outlaws and my Conquistadors and... yeah, right. Tiny little bit of mould line flashy type stuff here, but no... Again, typical high quality War Cradle stuff. I love the little... He's not just big fat, I mean he does have a big fat belly, but he's big, like, you know, his shoulders are like big and everything else. He's kind of a... his trousers are wide, you know, he's got this kind of chunky feel to him without being just a fat dude, which I really like. Here we have the Apache Kid and his friend there who follows him around. Alright, that's the Apache Kid and that's the rock that he stands on. I will probably end up pinning him into that thing. Lovely kind of long hair with the what is this called, like a chest armour place thing, very Native American. After all, he is the Apache Kid. He's got some ruffles down the side of his trousers as well, if you can see those, which are pretty cool. I like those. Oh, and he's got little moccasins and like a little pouch, which is pretty sweet. Now, random bits. We have got a leg. This is Boxer's leg. And then we've got Sasha Tanner's leg and his arm pokey for stabbing folk with. Sasha Tanner, I believe, is very, very loosely based on something like Zorro, because he's got a mask and some hand-to-hand combat weapons. I don't know much more than that. Nice. What we got here? We have got, these are Jake Williamson's arms, because they're muscular. And he's got a big shotgun as well, which has got like a little 6-shooter chambery thing, which is pretty sweet. We like that. And he's kind of, one arm's holding a knife there. And the other one you'll be able to see once I've assembled the models, giving it this kind of like come on then pose, which is pretty cool. What else have we got here? We have some bodies. This is Sasha Tanner. He doesn't actually have a mask on. I always thought he had a mask on. Maybe it's just the artwork that confused me. Little bandolier of kind of some strappy things. Got a big long coat with some knives, and he does actually have throwing knives in his stat line. And this is the side of Boxer Middleton with his like waistcoat done up, this little double-breasted thing, which is pretty cool. Oh, a little bow tie. I don't see a lot of bow ties. That's pretty sweet. There's a little section here where his little charger thing for his shot gauntlets goes. You'll see all this once I've assembled them. Just showing you the basics. Now this is Jose Chavez y Chavez. I like the little bit of movement in the little flick in the hair because he's running. He also has some throwing knives just across his chest here. Looks a bit angry. And that's one of his legs. With some more, because we love the ruffles on the side of this box set. Lots of leg ruffles for his chaps. As we all know, chaps are, by their very nature, arseless. Here we've got, here are Boxer's fists for his stun gauntlets. which is pretty cool. Hat, not sure who that's for. I think it's for Sasha Tanner. And then we have a head, which is a little bit mad-eye moody with the eyeball thing going on. Might look quite familiar to people who have watched Gangs of New York, I reckon, with his moustache and his hair. Pretty cool. Here we have what can only be described as a 1, 2, 3, 4-barreled shotgun, click clack ba blam, for William T. Kiddington, which is pretty cool. I like that. Who wouldn't want a quad shotgun, right? Boom. Here we have a hand. That's Billy the Kid's hand. Looks like he's reaching out to grab you through the screen. He's not really, it's just a toy. Oh, we've got some bits here. This is all for the Apache Kid. He's kind of reaching out, touching his rock, which you'll see in the pose. Here we've got his spirit bow, which is pretty cool for shooting people, and a hat, because everyone needs a hat. Because in the Arizona territories it gets hot. And speaking of hats, here's a hat. This is Jose Chavez E. Chavez's hat, which you can't really see very well, but you'll see it once I put them together. Got a little pistol here. That is for what's her name? Laura Anderson. She's kind of blowing it out, you know. She's just shot someone kind of way. We have another pistol. This is one of Chavez E. Chavez's, and you can see there's a little bit more of this kind of ruffly thing. I don't know what you call it. There's probably a word that I don't know for this kind of stuff. If you do know what the word is, let me know in the comments down below. Ruffle, zhuzh, I don't know. You know, on other coats where they all have their little shushi. You know what I mean. Here we have Boxer's energy backpack thing for stun gauntlets. We have Sasha Tanner's other bladed gauntlet thingy. Almost looks like a tonfa with the handle there, which is pretty cool. Which I think makes sense, because you would be able to like punch it in, you know, rather than just having it attached to your arm and flailing around. This is Chavez E. Chavez's other pistol hand. Don't know what they're going to look like put on. I'm sure they'll look wonderful. And here we have William T. Kiddington's face. And I really like that, as you could tell from on the art, they've kind of taken liberties with his real life picture, because I think there's one available picture of William the Kid, or one official picture is definitely him. It does kind of look like him. He's got the same sort of hat, same sort of toothy grin, kind of like sneer, which is, I think, a really nice touch. And that, apart from some bases, which these are, is everything that's in the Regulators box set, the Regulators posse box. These guys. Oops, glare. Yeah, and that's William the Kid. So, I'm going to go and put these dudes together, 6, 7 of them, and then I'm going to show you what they look like all done. So, I've got myself some mead. I'm going to have a few sips of that while I'm gluing. Maybe some tunes in the background. I can't actually let you listen to tunes because then we'll get done for copyright, which makes me sad. But I'll see you. What for you will be instantaneous, but for me will be after some time of gluing. And I'll let you know what happens when I get there. See you in a bit. Okie dokie, so here we are back. I've glued them all together. You can see them all dotted around here in the background, but I'm going to go through them and show you some of the cool features that I really like. So here we have the Apache Kid, stood here on his rock, looking all cool. There's a little scorpion there, which is quite nice. Do like that. We've got his spirit bow here. Obviously that's kind of a very typical kind of scouting pose, where he's kind of on the rock, surveying the distance. Nice little touch. You can just about see the bandana underneath his hat, which is quite cool. There's this little looks like a Native American armoured chest piece kind of thing here. These little things, I mean, to me, I guess they look like dreamcatchery type effect. I don't really know, but they are reminiscent of some of the things that are on other warrior nations, specifically Iron Tooth. They kind of look like that. Little pouch there is quite nice, very kind of handmade quality to it. Yeah, cool little dude. Some feathers on the back of his thick neck there. Really nice. Lovely posing. Yeah, it looks proper like off to do some scouting. So that's one. Then we've got Jake Williamson. He's on a medium base. He's a bigger dude, looking very much like "Come at me, bro." I love this hand here where he's like, "Come on then, come on then. I'll shiv you in the kidneys." With his little knife. Meat cleaver here. Shotgun on the back. Everyone likes a shotgun. Couple of things I really like, because he looks chunky but he doesn't look overly fat, even though he probably is. Partly I think it's the larger trousers, kind of the width of the trousers look proportional to him, so they kind of make him look chunky rather than chubby. Same as this kind of metal belly plate thing he's got on, stops him from looking overtly like flabby. And I wonder if this the stretching here of the vest, I think it makes him look a bit more like buff rather than just chubster, you know, and the fur around the shoulders kind of adds to that kind of butch kind of vibe. So yeah, I think it's a really cool miniature. Also the coat itself, you can see there's like a nice layer. The coat kind of goes out a bit wider than his body, so it stops it looking too kind of pinched and tight, which would in turn make him look fatter. So I think it's a nice little touch. He's got chaps on, which is cool. They look uncomfortable to sit on, but you know, they're strappies, so that's fine. We love strappies in games. As you can see, I've done a little textured basing, just a base bit of like grit with some PVA glue. I've gone over that with a bit of varnish just to stop it from being too loose. Sometimes when you just do the PVA, I find it can like chip off quite easily. Oh, that bit did, but that's only one little bit. A lot of it can kind of start coming away quite easily, so I'll go over it with a varnish, which usually kind of tightens it all up. Next we have Laura Anderson. She's blowing her little whoo because she's taking a shot and she's blowing the smoke away, which is pretty cool. Nice posing. Obviously she's quite ladyish, you know, female as it were. She is badass in the game. I think she's got rate of attack 3, pierce minus 3 pistols, plasma 6 shooters, so that's pretty hardcore. I like the, I don't know what these are called. If you know what these are called, let me know in the comments down below. She's got jeans on, and then she's got like chaps from the knee down. They're not like full length chap. I don't know, is that a thing? Like gaiters almost? I don't know if that's a thing. Let me know in the comments down below if you know. Yeah, she's going to make someone very unhappy, and I believe she's married to Broad Arrow Jack, or at least was at one point, as other people have been as well, because he's like that. Right, next guy we have, one of my favourites in the set, I just love the pose, is Boxer. I forget his full name, Boxer Middleton, I can't remember his surname, his first name even. John. Obviously I forgot that because it's such a weird and obscure name. Yeah, well, you can see all of this, I hope. He's got his little like cyber eye type thing wrapped around his head. His face looks, if you've seen the art, his face does look vaguely familiar. A film to do with like violence in the Big Apple, you know. But that's just the face really, everything else is pretty unique. I love the waistcoat, the double-breasted waistcoat, it's really cool. The little bow tie is such a nice touch, just to give him that air of like, kind of, you know, British upper lippedness, Queensberry rules kind of thing, and the same with the pose, that kind of like old-timey boxing pose. Love it. With these big shock gauntlet knuckles. Actually, across the chest here, you've got like a part of a strap with kind of an H shape straps. Actually holds his backpack on, which is in turn connected to his shock gauntlets, which I really like. A little knife in his back just in case, you know. But I love this model. I think the pose is really nice. I love that old timey boxing pose. I love the waistcoat. It's just a cool looking dude, right? And a big moustache. Nice. Good time. So there we've got John Boxer Middleton. Here we have Sasha Tanner, who's got these bladed gauntlets, which are very spiky, ready for stabbing. I think he's got forceful strike, which means you can double it up to Pierce -4, which is, as we all know, pretty nice. 3 what look like dagger sheaths for throwing daggers, because he does have thrown daggers in the game. A big flouncy coat, whoosh. Very kind of dynamic pose, leaning into the attack, ready for the follow up with this arm. Love it. Now all of those models are previously released one way or another, either via War Cradle or Outlaw as individuals, and now they've been brought together as part of this posse, part of the Regulators. And now we've got 2 new, brand new, I mean these are updated sculpts, so they will be tweaked, and they are up to the new standards that is War Cradle. But now we've got 2 new sculpts. We've got Jose Chavez Chavez. Really dynamic running pose, 2 pistols. You can proper like see him scream, running across the field. He's got, I love these little frills down the side of his jacket and his trousers as well. Kind of Western style frilling there, which I really like. I noticed these knee pads the other day, which I commented on, and I was like, oh, they look really cool. I knew where I knew them from, and I couldn't remember exactly where, but they're part of the Conquistadors knee pads. They look very much like that. I wonder if there's some relevance there. Is that a throwback to some, is it just a design choice, or is it a story choice? Maybe he was something to do with the Conquistadors, but he's no longer. Maybe he killed a Conquistador dude and stole his knee pads because they were cool. Who can say? Well, obviously people at War Cradle can say. Just to let you know, I did pin all of these because I like pinning. I actually find it quite a fun thing to do when I'm gluing stuff together. You're going to want to pin this foot because that's the only contact point and it's not massive. I pinned it here. I actually kind of drilled a little bit into the foot, then through the base, and then kind of I didn't glue the pin into the foot and then attach it to the base. I kind of did it all in one go because it was the best way of getting a decent join. Then I put a little extra blob of blue super glue on each side with some baking powder or baking soda, I forget which kind of helps to set the super glue to like a strong plastic. So it should provide a pretty solid contact point, although I'm not going to be bouncing it around the room or anything. I do genuinely think that the War Cradle models have got good contact points. This is the smallest I've seen from them. I've only ever seen one which is as small, which was on Brutus, the robot dog, but all the others seem to be like both feet, or at least a reasonable contact point. But then they're resin or plastic, so you're not going to have that metal problem where they're going to bend and snap and anything else. It's got his little 3 thrown daggers on there, or like 2 daggers and a big knife, because he does have a machete. Some little flares out the bottom of his pistols, which look cool. Yeah, great looking model. Running forward, ready for some action, because he's a mean son of a gun. Pew pew. Looking at you, pew pew. And I love the angle of these 2 guns, so he's kind of holding them slightly at an angle. Just looks really nice. Love it. Obviously you've got some stylings, you know, which is very well West Exodus, these kind of, I don't know what you'd call them, embellishments, like embroidery almost. But yeah, very well West Exodus feel. I love this kind of, his jacket is open here, so you've got a little bit of space underneath. Just gives it that kind of movement, that feeling of movement as his jacket's being caught up, you know. I think nice little touches like that. I mean, I don't dare to say it's a nice use of negative space, but you know, it just gives that sense of his jacket being caught up by the wind, which adds to the feeling of speed. His hair is obviously giving it that flick. Yeah, so he looks like a quick old bugger. His collar's up, that always makes him look cooler. So yeah, it's Jose Chavez y Chavez. I never get tired of trying to pronounce these Mexican type names. I'm usually pretty bad at it. I quite like playing the conquistadors because I have to say things like Patricia Monaguillo and Jose, Juan Ponce de Leon and stuff like that, which I really like saying. So that's fun. Here we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. William T. Kiddington, aka Billy the Kid, aka lots of different names, because I believe he had half a dozen different names one way or another. Standing there looking all cool and sassy. I did pin his arm. It's ever so slightly off centre. I'm not going to bother changing it. I'll just fill it with a little bit of Vallejo plastic putty later on when I can be bothered. It's not out enough. I mean, that's my fault. It actually, the join does fit better, but I made my pin a little off kilter when I was gluing him in. But it's not out that it looks weird or anything. I love this kind of layered effect where you've got his jacket, his waistcoat, and then his scarf. Really gives a nice sense of depth to his clothing and the sculpt itself. Again, we've got these kind of vertical lines on his shin pads, which we see a lot of in vertical lines rather than horizontal lines. Is something we see a lot of in Wild West Exodus. It's really interesting. You don't notice these things in like an overt sense. Things like this, the kind of scrolling, I guess you'd call it, on the back here. Where you can see that, I'm not sure. That's very kind of symbolic of Wild West Exodus. The edge of his coat having these little studs and stuff like that. Again, very symbolic of Wild West Exodus. And I think it's, you don't notice them all individually, but once you see the force as a whole, even if you're playing with something like Outlaws, which are kind of a disparate group of banditos, they still have a certain amount of kind of cohesion, which I like. Really like this pose where he's kind of leaning on one hip, kind of all relaxed on one side, where he's got his quad shotgun over his shoulder, but he's ready to draw with his other hand. You know, that's kind of like a nice juxtaposition of like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm chilled out, yeah, I'm gonna kill you, which is kind of adds to his kind of mystique, I guess. I like the slightly taller hat because that does look reminiscent. He does actually look, and when you see the art as well, he does. Oh, there you go, big face. Does look kind of reminiscent of the photograph of him, where he's got those kind of slightly misshapen teeth. But I think that's really nice that they can kind of shrink that down into a 32mm scale dude. Billy the Kid ready to shoot you in the face because he's Billy the Kid. I don't know what they're like in game because we are currently in the middle of changing over from 1.8 to 1.9, so I'm not going to go through all the stats or anything like that of these guys, because we will be doing a little what's the word I'm thinking of, a little rundown of all of the factions. Once 1.9 drops, we're going to do some faction breakdowns and kind of explain the state of the play of the game and like kind of how things are going at the moment and what those changes will mean to your factions. There'll be broader changes as well as kind of minor changes, and then individual faction changes, or even things that maybe were a minor change in one case but then affect the faction on a larger scale. So perhaps a weapon that one faction has a lot of access to has been changed. So it's not a change to the faction per se, but by changing that weapon, it kind of changes a little bit how the faction plays. Maybe it improves it or whatever. But we'll come to that. That's just a little sneak moment of stuff we're going to be doing in the future. So I hope you liked our little unboxing. I say unboxing, you didn't actually see me unbox it, but you know, you can see what they are. This is the, oh, wrong way, whoop, Regulators for Wild West Exodus, Billy the Kid's themed posse. And then we have the back of the box again. Billy the Kid, oops, Billy the Kid Sasha Tanner, Laura Anderson, the Apache Kid, whose real name we don't know, John Box Middleton, Jose Chavez Chavez, and Jake Williamson. A pair of rootin' tootin' roughneck regulators as I have seen in my entire life. So I hope you enjoyed that, and oh yeah, you can help us out. There's stuff to help us out in the corner or in the comments down below. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but the most important thing is, don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked it and want to subscribe. If you don't like it and don't want to subscribe, you don't have to like and subscribe, but we would like it if you liked and subscribed. And until next time, stay hammered. Do 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 do.